The sky of Virelion 9 burned with 3 suns. The planet was known for its shimmering deserts and glowing crystal cities. But deep inside the shadow districts, far from the royal towers, a mother named Rialan ran through the narrow metallic alleys, clutching a small bundle wrapped in gray cloth. The bundle whimpered. It was her baby and her only child. The baby's skin, once bright silver, had turned pale blue. Its breathing was weak. A small machine attached to its chest blinked red, the sign of failing life. Rialan's heart raced. Her eyes were swollen from crying. "Please, someone help me," she whispered as she reached the medical hub, but the guard stopped her before she could enter. "Only citizens of the core district can receive medical care," the tall alien guard said coldly. His armor shone with the emblem of the Galactic Council. "I'll pay anything," she begged, dropping to her knees. Her long tail trembled with fear. "Please, my baby, he needs the medicine now." "He will die." The guard didn't even blink. "Rules are rules," he said. "Go home before we arrest you for trespassing." Tears rolled down her face. Around her others passed by, merchants, travelers, workers, but no one stopped. No one cared. On Virelion 9, compassion had no value. Everything was measured in credits and rank. Rialan sank to the ground, holding her baby close. "Please, anyone, help me." Her voice was weak, fading into the crowd noise. Then, a voice came from behind her. "Hey, what's going on here?" She turned and saw something strange. A tall figure in a dusty coat, face hidden under a hood. His voice was calm but carried authority. The guards stiffened slightly when they saw him. "Human," one of them muttered under his breath. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy. Most saw them as primitive, a species from a small blue planet called Earth. But lately, rumors had spread that humans were spreading across the stars, helping those the council ignored. "This woman is not authorized to enter," the guard said. "She's a lower-class alien. Not worth your time, human." The human ignored him. He crouched beside Rialan. "What's wrong with the child?" he asked softly. She could barely speak through her tears. "He's sick. His heart regulator failed. He needs metaplasma. I begged them, but they—" The human looked at the blinking red light on the baby's chest. His jaw tightened. "How long has it been?" 2 days, she whispered. "They refused to sell it to me. Said I have no identity code." The human stood up slowly. "That's enough." He pulled something small from his pocket. A glowing badge. The guard stepped back immediately. The symbol on it, a silver eagle and a star's roar, was recognized everywhere. "Terran Medical Corps," he said. "Step aside." The guards hesitated. You have no authority here," one protested. The human's cold eyes met his. "Try stopping me." The silence that followed was heavy. Finally, the guard stepped aside. The human turned back to Rialan. "Come with me." She followed him into the hub, her legs trembling. The air smelled of metal and antiseptic. Machines hummed around them. He led her to an empty medroom and placed the baby on a scanning bed. He worked quickly, his hands steady, movements sharp. The screen displayed alien symbols, but he seemed to understand them perfectly. Rialan watched, her heart pounding. Why are you helping me?" she asked in disbelief. He didn't look up. "Because no one else will." Minutes later, the baby's chest light turned green. The machine beeped softly, in a healthy rhythm returning. Rialan gasped, covering her mouth. "He's breathing," she whispered. "He's alive." The human finally looked at her. His eyes were tired but kind. "He'll need rest. Keep him warm. The medicine will stabilize him." Tears filled her eyes again, but this time they were of gratitude. She wanted to speak, to thank him, but the words wouldn't come. Before she could say anything, he stood up. "Stay here until the night. Then leave through the back exit. The guards won't bother you." "Wait, your name?" she asked softly. He paused at the door. The lights reflected off his metallic badge. "Call me Elias," he said, then walked out into the neon-lit night. Rialan held her baby close, whispering, "Thank you, human." Outside, the stars above Virelion 9 shimmered, but as if watching silently. No one yet knew that this small act of kindness would ignite something much bigger, a fire that the Galactic Council could never control. Night fell over Virelion 9. The neon lights dimmed as the desert winds carried dust through the silent streets. Inside the small medroom, Rialan sat beside her sleeping baby, who was finally breathing calmly. The soft green light of the monitor was the only thing keeping her from breaking down again. Her mind was full of questions. Who was that human? Why did he help me when even my own people turned away? But she had no time to think. In the distance, she could already hear the low hum of patrol drones. The Galactic Council didn't like outsiders breaking their laws, especially not humans. She whispered to her child, "We'll leave soon, my little one." The kind man said to go when the night deepens. Outside, Elias walked alone through the metallic streets, his long coat brushing against the cold air. He looked like any traveler, but hidden beneath his coat was something dangerous, a small black communicator glowing faintly. He tapped it once. "Mission log 45B, he muttered. "Human contact successful. Local authorities hostile. Medical intervention complete." A robotic voice replied, "Commander Elias, you broke non-interference protocol again." Elias sighed. A baby was dying. "Saving one alien infant risks the entire treaty," the voice said coldly. "You are to return to orbit immediately." He turned off the device and stared at the distant lights of the council tower. "They can make their rules," he whispered, "but I won't stand by and watch a child die." Meanwhile, in the upper levels of the city, a different conversation was happening. Inside a grand hall made of crystal and light, Lord Vereen, a high-ranking council officer, was reading a report. His eyes narrowed as he saw the name Elias. "A human medic again?" he hissed. "Didn't we forbid their presence after the Saul incident?" "Yes, my lord," replied an aide. "But this one entered under a false identity. He helped an unregistered alien in the lower sectors." Lord Vereen's cold grin widened. "Then bring him in. Quietly. If the people learn a human defied our law again, they might start asking questions." He stood by the window, watching the glowing city. Humans always pretending to be saviors. But we remember what they did. Back in the medroom, Rialan felt something strange. The baby stirred in her arms and cooed softly, but then the lights flickered. "Power cut?" she whispered, looking around. The door suddenly hissed open and Elias stepped back in. His eyes were sharp. "We need to go, now. What's happening?" "They traced the medicine," he said quickly. "Council enforcers are coming. They know someone bypassed the registry system." Fear froze her. "But where can we go?" "I have no ship, no credit." Elias handed her a small metallic card. "This will open Dock 12. There's a freighter leaving for the outer colonies. They won't scan for your kind there." Rialan's hand shook as she took it. "Why are you doing this?" "You'll be punished if they find out," he smiled faintly. "Because when I was a boy, someone once helped me too. And I swore I'd do the same, no matter the species." Before she could reply, a loud crash echoed through the hallway. Red warning lights flashed. The door behind them began to melt as laser cutters sliced through it. "They're here," Rialan cried. Elias grabbed her arm. "Hold tight." He pressed a button on his wrist device and then the floor opened beneath them. They dropped into a narrow maintenance tunnel. The baby whimpered as the air grew hot and dusty. Elias crawled ahead, guiding them through the darkness. Above, metallic footsteps thundered, "Find the human." "He's in violation of the Non-Interference Act," shouted a robotic voice. Elias muttered under his breath. "They never change." They reached a small vent that opened into the city's underbelly, a maze of pipes, shadows, and glowing fungus. Elias helped her climb out. "You'll be safe here," he said. "Follow the blue lights and they'll lead to the docks." "What about you?" "I'll buy you time." Rialan's eyes widened. "No, if they catch you." He placed a hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry about me. Just save your child." Then he turned and disappeared back into the tunnel as the sounds of pursuit grew louder. Rialan followed the blue lights, clutching her baby close. Her legs trembled, but her heart burned with determination. Behind her, she could hear faint echoes and blaster shots, shouts, the metallic clash of armor. And then silence. She looked back once, tears filling her eyes. "Thank you, Elias," she whispered. At Dock 12, the freighter's engines roared to life. She slipped aboard with the help of a kind old worker who didn't ask questions. The door sealed behind her, and soon the ship rose into the dark sky. As the stars filled her view, Rialan pressed her hand to the window. Her baby slept peacefully against her chest. Far below in the glowing city, alarms still wailed. The council's search team scoured the ruins, but the human had vanished, or so they thought. Because somewhere in the shadows of Virelion 9, Elias was still moving, bleeding, hiding, and planning. He had broken the law for compassion, but he knew something the council didn't. This was only the beginning. The city of Virelian 9 slept under storm clouds. Lightning rolled across the glowing skyline as the lower sectors filled with the echo of alarms. The Galactic Council patrols had sealed the streets hunting one man, the human called Elias. He crouched in the shadows of a collapsed bridge, clutching his bleeding arm. The wound burned, but he stayed silent. The hum of a drone passed overhead, scanning with red light. He waited until it drifted away before letting out a slow breath. His small communicator blinked weakly. "Command to Elias," said the robotic voice from before. "You've broken the non-interference law. Extraction has been cancelled. Surrender yourself." He crushed the device with his bare hand. "No more orders," he muttered. Not from people who forgot what it means to be human. He tore part of his coat to wrap the wound, then looked toward the sky. High above, ships crossed like silver arrows, the same sky under which the woman and her baby were escaping. I hope they made it, he thought. Across the city, in a tall crystal tower, Lord Vereen stood before a massive holographic screen showing the human's image. "Find him alive," he ordered. "Humans think they can interfere and vanish. Let's show them what happens to those who defy the council." An officer saluted. "Yes, my lord. We have activated the tracer network. The moment he uses any human tech, we'll locate him." Vereen turned away slowly. "And bring me the child, too. That medicine was Terran-made. I want to know why he risked everything for it." He poured himself a glass of glowing amber liquid and whispered, "Humans, always playing heroes. They never learn." Meanwhile, the freighter carrying Rialan moved silently through the void. She sat in a dark corner holding her baby, who slept peacefully for the first time in days. But she couldn't rest. Her thoughts returned again and again to the human who had stayed behind. He saved my child, but who will save him now? The ship's old worker, a small gray-skinned alien named Corin, had approached her. "You look worried, stranger," he said kindly. She nodded. "A human helped me. He's still on Virelian 9. The council will hunt him." Corin frowned. "A human? Brave or foolish? The council hates them because they remind us what mercy looks like." "What do you mean?" Corin sat beside her. "Long ago, before the Great War, humans offered help to every world that asked. They sent food, medicine, even fought for those who couldn't fight. But the council saw them as a threat, too independent, too emotional. They banned human aid after the Sol Rebellion." Rialan's eyes widened. "So that's why he was alone." "Yes," Corin said quietly. "But humans, they don't forget kindness. If he helped you, it wasn't for reward. It was because he couldn't watch you suffer." Rialan looked down at her baby, determination filling her heart. "Then I will repay him. Somehow." Back on the planet, Elias moved through the underground tunnels, guided by faint lights and memory. His breath was shallow. He knew the council forces would be closing in soon. He reached an old human outpost, long abandoned, half buried in sand. Inside, he activated a dusty terminal. The screen flickered to life, displaying a faded emblem: Terra Union, Medical Corps. He whispered to himself, "Still here after all these years." He connected his wrist device to the terminal. Maps appeared, escape routes, hidden ports, and secret medical shelters across the outer systems. But before he could copy the data, the door exploded. A wave of heat threw him backward. Through the smoke, armored council soldiers entered, weapons glowing. "Freeze, human," one barked. Elias groaned, standing slowly. "You don't need to do this," he said. "I saved a child, and that's all." "Saving her broke the law," the soldier replied coldly. "You interfered in alien affairs. That's a death sentence." Elias smiled faintly despite the pain. "Then the law is wrong." The soldier aimed his blaster. But before he could fire, Elias raised a small cube from his pocket and threw it to the ground. A bright flash filled the room, white, silent, blinding. When the soldiers recovered, the human was gone. Outside, in the storm, Elias ran toward the desert, lightning flashing across the sky. The wind roared in his ears, and the city lights faded behind him. He stumbled over the dunes until he reached a wrecked cargo ship half buried in sand. He climbed inside and collapsed near the controls. His breath was ragged, but his eyes were still fierce. "Computer," he whispered weakly. "Launch emergency signal. Codename, Sanctuary." The ship's systems hummed to life. A blue light blinked, sending a transmission far beyond the planet. deep into Terran space. Somewhere across the stars, a human fleet would see that signal, and they would come. High above Virelion 9, Lord Vereen watched the energy spike appear on his hologram map. His eyes narrowed. "Found you," he said quietly. "Let's see what kind of savior you really are, human." Outside, thunder cracked like war drums. The storm was coming, and it was only the beginning. Far beyond Virelion 9, among the cold stars of the outer belt, a forgotten satellite suddenly came to life. Its systems had been silent for nearly a century. Dust drifted across its old metallic surface until, beep, a faint blue signal flashed across the void. That signal carried one word: sanctuary. Across the human-controlled frontier, deep inside a battle-scarred ship called the TSS Horizon, a young officer noticed the alert. "Commander, I think you'll want to see this," she said, voice shaking. The commander turned. His name was Captain Darius Holt, a man of broad shoulders and tired eyes. He walked to the console, reading the data. "Origin Virelion 9, the officer said. "Signal class, Terran Medical Corps. Encryption level, century code." Darius froze. "That's impossible," he whispered. "The Medical Corps was dissolved 50 years ago. But the signal is real, sir. Someone down there used old Terran codes, ones only high officers ever had." The captain looked at the glowing map. "Send a probe, now." As the probe launched, Darius felt a mix of anger and hope. If a human is alive on that council world, we can't ignore it, he muttered. On Virelion 9, Elias lay inside the wrecked cargo ship, shivering from blood loss. The emergency signal had drained what little power remained. He closed his eyes, whispering, "Come on. Someone hear me." Outside, the storm raged. Lightning struck the sands like white fire. In the distance, the faint hum of engines grew louder. Council ships. They were closing in. Inside his mind, flashes of memory returned. The earth he once knew, oceans that smelled of salt, blue skies where children laughed. He remembered the promise he made when he joined the Medical Corps, to help any life, no matter the species. He smiled weakly. "Still keeping it?" "After all this time," he murmured. Meanwhile, aboard the freighter heading to the colonies, Rialan couldn't sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Elias, standing in that burning hallway, telling her to run. She walked to the ship's viewport. Stars streaked past like silver rivers. Her baby slept beside her, chest rising gently. Corin, the old worker, came beside her. "Still thinking of the human?" "Yes," she said quietly. "He saved my child, and now he's probably dying because of me." Corin shook his head. "No, humans don't save others to be thanked. They save others because they can't stand to do nothing." She looked down, tears glimmering. "Then maybe I can't stand doing nothing either." He raised an eyebrow. "What are you saying?" "I want to go back," she said suddenly. "I have something he doesn't. Knowledge of the underground routes." "I can find him before they do." Corin blinked in shock. "You'd go back into a planet ruled by the Council?" "They'll kill you on sight." She lifted her baby, who now opened his small, bright eyes. "If he risked his life for my child, then I'll risk mine for his." There was silence for a long moment. Then Corin sighed and nodded. "I know a way. There's a small pod in the lower bay. I can't stop you, but I'll help you launch it." Rialan smiled gratefully. "Thank you, friend." Hours later, while Council ships scanned the desert below, a small escape pod streaked through the clouds. It was invisible to their sensors, disguised as debris. Inside, Rialan held her baby tight as the pod shook violently. "Hold on, little one," she whispered. "We're going back for him." The pod landed miles away from the search zone. Smoke hissed from its panels as she stepped into the cold desert night. The sky glowed orange from lightning. Somewhere ahead, she could see faint flashes, battle lights, weapons firing. She moved toward them. At the same time, in the Council's main command ship, Lord Vereen watched the radar screens. "Our scanners detected a human distress signal," he said calmly. "He's near the southern ridge. Bring him in alive. I want to know how he activated that code." The officer hesitated. "My lord, if the humans pick up that signal, they might send—" Vereen cut him off. "They wouldn't dare. Their fleets are weak. Their alliance broken. Humanity is a fading spark," he smiled coldly. "And tonight I'll snuff it out myself." Back on the planet, Elias woke to the sound of metal crunching. Searchlights pierced the dust. He dragged himself behind a dune, gripping his broken wrist device. A spotlight swept over him, too late. A council drone spotted him, targeting lasers glowing red. Elias looked up, whispering, "Guess this is it." Just as the drone fired, a blast of blue light ripped through the air. The drone exploded mid-flight. Through the smoke, he saw a small figure running toward him, holding something glowing in her arms. "Rialan." He gasped, half in disbelief. She dropped beside him, breathing hard. "You didn't think I'd just leave you, did you?" He laughed weakly, wincing from pain. "You're insane." "Maybe," she said, smiling through tears. "But humans don't get to be the only ones who care." Before he could answer, the ground shook. In the distance, hundreds of bright blue trails filled the night sky. Ships entering orbit. Rialan looked up, eyes wide. "What is that?" Elias managed a faint smile. "That is home," answering the call. Above Varelian 9, the TSS Horizon and 3 Terran vessels dropped out of hyperspace, their engines glowing like fire. Captain Darius stared at the planet below. "Signal confirmed," he said. "Prepare rescue squads." He clenched his fist. "Let's bring our people home." The night sky over Varelion 9 tore apart. Thousands of people looked up from the crystal streets, watching in shock as glowing blue fire streaked across the heavens. For centuries, no one had dared challenge the Galactic Council here. No one, except humans. High above, the Terran fleet descended through the clouds. Their ships gleamed silver, engines humming like thunder. The lead vessel, TSS Horizon, carried the old symbol of Earth, a blue circle surrounded by stars. On the bridge, Captain Darius Holt stood tall. "Signal locked," the officer said. "Elias's beacon is active. He's alive." Darius nodded. "Then we're not leaving without him." He turned to the crew. "Deploy drop pods. We go in quiet. If the council wants a fight, they'll get one." The crew saluted sharply. For the first time in 50 years, Terran boots were about to touch a council world again. Down below, the desert shook as Rialan dragged Elias into an abandoned structure. The wind howled outside, carrying the roar of engines. Elias tried to stand, but pain shot through his body. "The humans, they actually came," he said softly, disbelief in his voice. Rialan smiled faintly, clutching her baby. "You called, and they answered." He looked at her, this alien mother who had once begged in tears, and realized something powerful. "No council law can stop compassion," he whispered. Before she could reply, an explosion lit the sky. Council fighters were rising, dark and sharp like knives. Elias's eyes widened. "They'll try to shoot the Terrans down." He reached for a console on the wall, connecting his broken wrist device to it. "I can boost their signal, might maybe redirect fire." Rialan frowned. "But you're hurt?" He gave her a tired smile. "I've been hurt before, but I'm not done yet." He began typing, sparks flying as old circuits screamed under pressure. In orbit, the horizon rocked as red lasers streaked past. "Council interceptors incoming," shouted the pilot. Darius gripped the railing. "Defensive formation! Protect the drop pods!" The air was filled with explosions, bright flowers of light blooming in silence. For every council drone destroyed, 2 more appeared. "Sir, this isn't a skirmish, and it's a blockade," yelled the officer. "They knew we'd come." Darius narrowed his eyes. "Then they underestimated humanity." He opened the comms. "This is Captain Holt of the Terran ship Horizon. We are here under the banner of mercy. Stand down or face the consequence of your arrogance." His words echoed across every frequency, but Lord Vereen, watching from his command deck, only laughed. "Mercy?" Vereen said with contempt. "You humans still believe in such weakness. Fire on their lead ship." Down on the planet, the battle in the sky looked like a storm of stars. Rialan shielded her child from the flashes. "Will they win?" she asked. Elias didn't answer. He was breathing hard, blood running down his arm, but his eyes stayed fixed on the screen. "If I can break their defense grid." "Yes," he slammed a final command into the console. The screen flickered. Then the entire desert lit up with a pulse of blue energy. From orbit, the human fleet saw it too. "Sir, a ground signal. It's overriding the Council's targeting network." Darius smiled. "That's Elias. He's clearing the sky for us." "Then let's go get him," said the officer. Moments later, 5 human dropships dove through the clouds like comets. Their engines glowed bright against the storm. In the Council's tower, panic spread. Their ships are entering atmosphere. We've lost control of Sector 9 defenses. Lord Vereen slammed his hand on the console. Find the human who triggered it. I want him alive. I'll make an example of him. But even as he shouted, alarms blared again. The Terran ships broke through the last line of defense and touched down in the desert. The humans had arrived. Inside the ruined building, the roof suddenly cracked open as a pod crashed nearby. The doors burst open and human soldiers in silver armor rushed out, weapons ready. One of them called out, "Commander Elias, we received your signal." Elias let out a shaky laugh. "Took you long enough." The soldier knelt beside him. "You're lucky, sir. Captain Holt came himself." Elias's eyes widened. "Holt? That old bastard still alive?" The soldier smiled. "And angry as ever." Elias chuckled weakly. "Good. That's what we need." He looked at Rialan and her child. "They go first. She's the reason I'm still breathing." The soldier nodded and motioned for medics. "Understood. Let's get them out." As they lifted off, the desert below exploded with fire, council troops closing in. The shuttle shook violently. Elias grabbed Rialan's hand. "Hold on, don't let go." The engines screamed. The ship rose through clouds of flame, breaking into open sky. Outside the viewport, Virelian 9 glowed beneath them like a wounded jewel. Rialan looked down and whispered, "Heaven help the one still down there." Elias, barely conscious, whispered back, "No, humans will." Far above, Lord Vereen watched the Terran ships escape atmosphere. His eyes blazed with fury. "Prepare a fleet," he ordered. "If the humans think they can return to our worlds, we'll show them war." But deep down, even he could feel it. Something had changed. A single human's act of mercy had reignited a forgotten fire. And across the stars, humanity was waking up again. The stars stretched like silver rivers around the Terran ship horizon as it drifted far from Virelian 9. Inside the medbay, soft lights glowed over two figures, Rialan, holding her sleeping baby, and Elias, pale but alive, his arm wrapped in fresh bandages. For the first time in days, there was silence. No alarms, no screams, no blasters, only the faint hum of the engines and the rhythm of two steady heartbeats. Rialan looked around, amazed. The ship felt so different from anything she had ever known. No guards, no shouting, just calm and purpose. She whispered to herself, "Humans? They build ships like they build homes. For life, not for power." A door hissed open and Captain Darius Holt entered, his uniform marked with dust and burn scars. His eyes softened when he saw Elias awake. "You still alive, old friend?" Darius said gruffly. Elias smiled faintly. "You sound disappointed." "I should be," Darius replied, pulling up a chair. "You broke 3 laws, hacked a council defense grid, and almost started a war." "Almost?" Elias coughed weakly. "So it's official then?" Darius's expression darkened. "Yes, the council declared open war this morning. They call us interfering primitives." Rialan's heart sank. "Because of me?" Darius turned toward her. "No, because of him," he said, pointing at Elias. "Because he reminded the galaxy that humans still care." She held her baby closer, guilt written on her face. "If I had known—" Elias interrupted softly. "Don't. Compassion isn't a mistake." Hours later, the ship's war room filled with quiet voices. Holographic stars glimmered in the air, showing red council fleets spreading across the outer systems. Darius stood with his officers watching in silence. "They're faster than expected," one officer said. "They've already taken 2 Terran colonies." Darius's hands clenched. "They want to send a message, mercy is forbidden." "Then we send a better one," Elias said, stepping into the room. His voice was weak but steady. "We fight, yes, but not just with weapons. We show them that compassion isn't weakness, it's power." The officers exchanged glances. One of them frowned. "Commander, with respect, compassion doesn't win wars." Elias looked him straight in the eye. "No, but it wins hearts. And once that happens, laws fall apart." Later, in the observation deck, Rialan stood beside the viewport watching the stars. Her baby, now named Lior, reached toward the light with tiny silver fingers. Elias joined her quietly. "He's stronger already." "Yes," she said softly. "He smiles now. Before he never did." Elias smiled too. "He's proof that kindness still matters." Rialan looked at him carefully. "Elia, why did you risk everything for me?" "For us?" He thought for a moment, then said, "Because when I first joined the Corps, I saw children on dying worlds. Hungry, afraid, and every time we left because some treaty said we couldn't interfere, it broke me a little more. I told myself I'd never obey that rule again." She nodded slowly. "You broke their law, but you followed your heart," he chuckled. "That's the human way." They both looked out into space in silence, and two different beings connected by something greater than race or rank. But peace never lasted long. The ship's alarms blared suddenly. Red lights filled the hallways. Darius's voice came over the comms. "Council fleet inbound, they tracked our signal. All stations to battle positions." Elias groaned. "They're not giving up." Rielan's eyes widened in fear. "What will happen if they catch us?" "They'll take me for trial," Elias said calmly. "And maybe you too. They'll call you evidence." Her hands shook. "Then we can't let them." Before Elias could respond, she turned and ran toward the command bridge. When Darius saw her enter, he shouted, "What are you doing here?" "It's not safe." Rielan stood firm. "I can help." He frowned. "You? You're not a soldier." "No," she said. "But I know their scanners, their frequencies. My people built part of the Council's defense grid. I can blind their ships, just for a few minutes." The crew stared. Elias's voice came from the doorway. "She's right. Let her try." Darius hesitated, then nodded. "Do it. You've got 2 minutes before they fire." Rielan took a deep breath and sat at the console. Her fingers moved fast, typing alien symbols mixed with Terran code. The bridge filled with tension as countdowns blinked red. "Enemy ships locking on," the officer said. "Almost there," she whispered. 10 seconds. The screen flashed and then turned completely black. "Signal lost," shouted the enemy radar officer. Darius's crew erupted in cheers. "They can't see us." Rielan smiled weakly. "They won't find you now, but they will soon." Elias limped forward and placed a hand on her shoulder. "You just saved the ship." She looked at him, eyes shining. "Then promise me one thing, human. Don't stop saving others, no matter what they call you." Elias nodded. "I promise." Outside, the Terran ship Horizon slipped into hyperspace, leaving Varelian 9 far behind. But war had already begun. And somewhere deep inside the Council's headquarters, Lord Vareen stared at a photo. The image of a human carrying an alien child. He crushed it in his hand. If mercy is their weapon, we'll make it their downfall. But what he didn't know was that the child he wanted destroyed, the little baby named Lior, would one day become the bridge between two worlds. Years passed. The war between humans and the Galactic Council burned across 100 worlds. Cities of light turned to dust and silent moons became graveyards for ships. But amid the chaos, something unexpected grew. Stories. Stories of human soldiers saving wounded aliens instead of killing them. Stories of medics treating enemies on battlefields. Stories of compassion spreading faster than the fire of war. And it all began with a single act, a human answering a mother's cry. On the ship TSS Horizon, the war had aged everyone. Elias walked with a limp now, his body scarred and weary, yet his eyes were still bright. He looked out at the stars where fleets gathered for one final battle. Behind him, Captain Darius Holt stood silently, arms crossed. "You should be resting," he said. Elias smiled faintly. "We both know rest isn't coming." "This might be it, Elias," Darius said quietly. "The Council is throwing everything they have. If we lose today, humanity is finished." Elias turned toward him. "Then let's win. Not by killing more, but by showing them why they can't destroy us." Darius raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that?" Elias pointed toward the holomap. "With the child." In another room, Rielan stood with her son, Lior, now grown into a tall young boy. His skin shimmered faintly, silver mixed with human warmth. His eyes were bright blue, like Earth's sky. "Mother," he said softly, "they're afraid of me." Rielan touched his cheek gently. "They fear what they don't understand. You are hope, my son. That's something even war can't kill." Elias entered, smiling. "He's right to feel afraid. But he's also right to exist," Lior turned. "Uncle Elias, what if I can't do it?" "You can," Elias said firmly. "Because you're the reason I broke every rule I ever swore to keep." Lior nodded slowly. "Then I'll try." The human fleet floated in silence over a burning nebula, their last line. Across from them, the Council Armada shimmered in the void, millions strong. At the center of it all, Lord Varine's command ship glowed like a black star. He stood on his bridge, staring at the human formation.
"Fools!" he hissed.
They still believe mercy can protect them. A signal came through. "Incoming transmission." "From the humans," the officer said. "Put it through," Varine growled. The screen flickered, and there, standing between two humans, was a boy with silver skin and blue eyes. "This is Lior," Elias said from beside him. "He carries both our blood. He is proof that we don't have to be enemies." Varine laughed coldly. "You made a hybrid? You broke every natural law." Elias's voice was calm. "We broke your law, not nature's." The council chamber behind Varine erupted in whispers. Some of his officers looked uncertain. The sight of the boy, calm, radiant, and unafraid, cracked the mask of hatred they had worn for years. Lior stepped forward. "Please, I don't want to see more worlds burn. I can feel both of you, human and alien, inside me." "We are not so different," Varine snarled. "Enough." He slammed his hand down. "Fire on their flagship." But before the command could be carried out, several of his ships hesitated. Others turned off their targeting systems. "The seeds of doubt had spread, sir. Some of the captains are refusing orders," an aide whispered. Varine's eyes blazed. "Then destroy them all." But even as he shouted, bright light filled the screen. In the human command deck, Elias looked out the viewport. "He's going to wipe us all out," Darius said. "He'll take his own fleet down if he must." Elias shook his head. "Not if we show them something greater." He activated the long-range channel, broadcasting across every system. "This is Commander Elias of the Terran Medical Corps." His voice echoed. "Years ago, I broke the law to save a single child. I was called a criminal for showing compassion. But that act, that one small mercy, started everything you see now. If you can hear me, remember this. Mercy is not weakness. It is strength, and strength born from compassion cannot die." The transmission spread through the galaxy. On countless worlds, people, alien and human, stopped fighting. Some dropped their weapons. Others simply wept. Varine's ship shook violently as his officers refused his orders. "Stop this madness," he screamed, but it was too late. The war's fire was dying, not because of weapons, but because of hope. Moments later, light filled the horizon. The Council's energy core, damaged by their own fire, exploded into the void. The shockwave spread like dawn, tearing through ships, scattering debris like ashes. The human fleet barely escaped. The rest, silence. Elias stood in the medbay once more, pale and coughing. Rielan rushed to his side. "You saved them," she whispered. He smiled faintly. "No, we did." Lior knelt beside him, tears in his eyes. "Uncle Elias, stay with us." Elias looked at him gently. "You don't need me anymore. You'll lead them now, all of them." His breathing slowed. "Promise me one thing, Lior. Never stop being human. Even if you're not." Lior gripped his hand. "I promise." And with that, Elias's eyes closed. Peaceful, fulfilled. Years later, peace returned. The new Galactic Union stood not on fear, but on understanding. At its center was a young leader, Lior, the child of two worlds, carrying a small silver badge with an eagle and a star. It once belonged to a human who broke every rule to save a life. And in every school, every city across every planet, children were taught his words, simple, eternal, human. Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is the strength that builds worlds.